Imagine for a moment that the universe is not just an expanse of stars, planets, and galaxies, but a vast library. Within this library, every particle of matter, every pulse of energy, and every moment of time is like a page in an infinite book. When we look up at the night sky, we are not simply gazing at distant lights. We are standing in front of shelves stacked with knowledge and wisdom, each star a letter in a cosmic language, each galaxy a chapter in a story without end. This library is not bound by walls, and it is not limited by the definitions of science or philosophy. It is alive, breathing through patterns of creation and destruction, whispering its secrets through the rhythm of existence. What makes this metaphor more than imagination is that the universe does, in fact, carry memory. Atoms carry the record of the beginning of time. Light carries the story of distant worlds across millions of years before it touches our eyes. Our very DNA is a collection of encoded experiences passed through countless generations. We are not separate from this library. We are pages within it, inscribed with stories written long before we became aware of them. This is why when we study the universe, we are also studying ourselves. The line between reader and book dissolves, and what remains is a recognition that knowledge is not external, but woven into the very fabric of our being. Every moment of our lives is an opportunity to open a new page. When we sit in stillness, when we listen deeply, we begin to notice that the library speaks to us in subtle ways. A bird's song, the patterns of waves on the shore, the cycles of the seasons, all are expressions of this vast collection of wisdom. Nothing is random. Every detail is connected. Every fragment belongs to a larger story. We have been taught to believe that knowledge is something we acquire, but the deeper truth is that knowledge is something we remember. The universe has always been guiding us back to this remembrance, inviting us to see that we are immersed in meaning. What is striking is that this library has no end. Unlike human libraries that are measured in finite collections, this one expands as it is read. The act of observing it, of becoming aware of it, creates new pages. This is the paradox of infinity. The more we learn, the more there is to be learned. The more we uncover, the more mystery deepens. To live within such a library is to accept that we are not meant to finish the book, but to marvel at the endlessness of the story itself. And so, when we call the universe a library, it is not only to honor its vastness, but also to remind ourselves that we are always surrounded by knowledge, always immersed in wisdom. We are not lost wanderers in a meaningless cosmos. We are readers invited to discover the eternal narrative written in the stars. If the universe is a library, then consciousness is the storyteller that brings the library to life. A book, no matter how profound, remains silent until it is read. The words lie dormant on the page, waiting for awareness to awaken them into meaning. In the same way, the vastness of the cosmos, with all its stars and mysteries, would remain mute without the presence of consciousness to witness it, to interpret it, and to weave its fragments into the fabric of experience. Consciousness does not merely observe, it animates. It takes the raw energy of existence and transforms it into stories that we can feel, understand, and share. Think of how a simple sunrise becomes more than a celestial event when seen through the eyes of awareness. Without us, it is only the rotation of the earth, light scattering through the atmosphere. But with consciousness, it becomes beauty, hope, renewal, even poetry. We tell ourselves a story about the dawn, and in doing so, we create a bridge between the outer phenomenon and the inner world of meaning. This is the power of the storyteller within us. Consciousness transforms data into narrative, and through narrative, the universe speaks. This is why each of us lives in a unique world, even though we inhabit the same planet. The library is shared, but the story we tell is our own. Two people can stand beneath the same night sky, gazing at the same moon, and yet one sees romance, while the other feels solitude. The story is not written in the stars. It is written in the heart, in the awareness that interprets the stars. This does not diminish reality, rather, it expands it. It reminds us that existence is never fixed or mechanical, but fluid and alive, shaped by the attention we give it. Consciousness as the storyteller also means that we are not simply inheritors of meaning, but creators of it. Every thought, every interpretation, every insight adds a new verse to the song of existence. We do not only listen to the universe's story, we co-author it. When we respond to life with love instead of fear, when we choose compassion over indifference, we are reshaping the narrative, turning what could have been a story of separation into a story of connection. The library provides the pages, but consciousness writes the script. Even silence itself takes on meaning when filtered through awareness. A pause between words can feel like emptiness, or it can feel like infinite possibility. The same silence that may seem empty to one person can feel sacred to another. This is the gift of consciousness, the ability to infuse life with depth, to draw stories out of stillness, to find significance in what might otherwise appear meaningless. The storyteller within us is not bound by the past. It is free to reimagine the present and recreate the future. We do not have to keep repeating the same story over and over. We can tell a new one that reflects clarity, wholeness, and joy. And when we do, the universe listens because consciousness and cosmos are not separate. They are one story told through us. When we begin to see the universe as a library and ourselves as storytellers of consciousness, we notice that the language of this library is not always written in words. Instead, it often speaks in symbols, images, and archetypes that appear across time and cultures, as if woven into the very structure of the human psyche. These symbols are the alphabet of the cosmos, recurring in dreams, myths, art, and spiritual traditions. They are the bridges that link the infinite with the personal, the eternal with the fleeting. Through them, we glimpse truths that cannot be fully captured by ordinary language. Consider the image of the circle. From the wheel of time to the cycles of the moon, from mandalas to halos, the circle reappears endlessly. It speaks of wholeness, of eternity, of the unbroken nature of existence. No matter where we turn in history or geography, the circle emerges as though it were a signature of the universe itself. Or take the archetype of the hero's journey, found in every culture, in every era. It is not just a story about adventure. It is the symbol of the soul's evolution, the timeless map of transformation from innocence to wisdom, from separation to unity. These patterns remind us that beneath the diversity of our stories lies a common grammar of consciousness, one that connects us to one another and to the universe at large. Symbols are not fixed meanings, they are doorways. They open us to dimensions of experience that logic alone cannot touch. A flame is more than fire. It is illumination, passion, the spark of divine presence. Water is more than liquid. It is purification, flow, the infinite adaptability of life. These elemental images awaken something deep within us because they are part of our shared memory as human beings. They live in us, guiding our imagination, shaping our perception, whispering truths that the intellect might miss. Even in our dreams, this symbolic language continues to speak. A dream does not present itself as a rational essay. It presents itself in images that feel alive, charged with meaning beyond explanation. In that dream space, we are reminded that consciousness speaks fluently in metaphor, and that to understand ourselves and the world, we must learn to listen with more than the analytical mind. We must allow the symbolic to wash over us, to teach us in the same way a poem or a piece of music teaches us, not by explanation but by resonance. What is extraordinary is that these symbols are not separate from the universe. They are the universe reflecting itself through us. The stories we create, the myths we inherit, the archetypes we embody are the universe narrating itself through the medium of human awareness. The library is not silent. It communicates in a symbolic tongue that transcends boundaries of culture and language. And so, when we encounter symbols and archetypes, we are not just decoding fragments of culture, we are reading the deeper script of existence, one that unites us all in the timeless story of consciousness. In every story that has ever been told, the spaces between the words are as important as the words themselves. Without the pauses, without the silence, the meaning could never unfold. The same is true of the universe. Beneath all the symbols, all the narratives, and all the patterns, there is an underlying silence that holds it together. It is the hidden page of the cosmic library, the canvas upon which the words of existence are written. And yet, this silence is often overlooked because we have been conditioned to pay attention only to the noise, to the movement, to the events that seem to fill our lives. When we sit quietly and allow ourselves to become still, something remarkable happens. We begin to notice that silence is not empty. It has a presence, a depth, a fullness. It is the background in which everything arises and into which everything dissolves. A single thought cannot exist without the silence around it. A sound cannot be heard without the space that makes hearing possible. Even the heartbeat rests in the silence between its rhythms. Without silence, nothing could be known and nothing could be experienced. In meditation, we return again and again to this hidden page. At first, it may feel elusive, as though silence is something distant or rare. But as we surrender to it, we discover that it is always present, always waiting. Silence does not need to be created. It simply needs to be remembered. The mind is filled with words, with images, with endless storytelling, but silence underlies them all, like an infinite expanse untouched by thought. When we rest in it, we touch the foundation of existence itself. Silence is not opposed to sound, nor is it the absence of life. It is the womb of creation, the fertile ground out of which every sound, every form, every idea is born. Just as the spaces between notes allow music to emerge, silence allows the universe to express itself in harmony. Without it, there would only be chaos, a relentless flood with no rhythm, no balance, no meaning. The very possibility of order, of coherence, of beauty comes from the presence of silence. When we encounter silence within ourselves, we realize that it is not different from the silence of the universe. It is the same stillness that pervades the stars, the same quiet that stretches across galaxies. In that recognition, we no longer feel separate from the cosmos. We see that silence connects us, reminding us of our shared origin, reminding us that all the stories we tell are written on the same eternal page. To honor silence is to honor the essence of being. It is to recognize that life is not only in the words we speak or the actions we take, but in the pauses, the spaces, the moments of stillness that give everything else meaning. And when we allow ourselves to rest in that silence, we step into the most profound library of all, the one that contains no words yet holds the wisdom of the universe. When we think of the universe as a library, it is easy to imagine a single unified story, but the truth is far more wondrous. There are as many stories as there are readers, and each consciousness interprets the library in its own unique way. Just as a poem read by one person may stir feelings of joy while another may feel sorrow, the universe reveals itself differently to every being. This is not a flaw in perception, it is the richness of creation. The library is vast enough to contain endless interpretations, and each one adds to the depth of the whole. No two people look at the same sky in exactly the same way. One may see the stars as distant fires, another as ancestors, another as mysteries waiting to be solved. The stars themselves do not change, but the meaning they awaken shifts according to the mind and heart of the observer. In this way, consciousness breathes life into the universe, giving it infinite voices, infinite colors, infinite perspectives. The beauty of this truth is that no single story cancels out another. They coexist, layering upon one another like harmonies in a symphony. This diversity of experience is what makes life so endlessly creative. If every person told the same story, the library would be static and predictable. Instead, each life becomes a unique lens through which the cosmos comes alive. Some stories are told in words, others in silence. Some are expressed through art, music, or movement, while others are lived quietly in the unseen gestures of kindness and love. Each story matters, for each one carries the signature of consciousness itself. And yet, within this infinite variety, there is harmony. Just as a library does not lose its essence when filled with countless books, The universe does not lose its coherence when it expresses itself through countless perspectives. In fact, the opposite is true. The wholeness of the cosmos is revealed through its diversity. The different ways we interpret and embody the universe are not contradictions, but reflections of the same infinite source. They are different chapters in one boundless book, different melodies in one endless song. When we embrace this truth, we begin to let go of the need to insist that our story is the only story. We see that what feels real for us is one expression of the whole, and what feels real for another is equally valid within the vastness of being. This understanding cultivates compassion because we realize that every perspective is a doorway into the same infinite library. To honor another story is to honor the universe itself. The gift of life, then, is not in finding the single correct interpretation of the library, but in celebrating the infinite ways it can be read. And in this celebration, we discover that diversity is not division, it is the very harmony of creation. To see the universe as a library is to recognize that we are both readers and authors within it. We come into this life surrounded by stories already in motion. Stories written in the stars, in the history of the earth, in the lineage of our ancestors. At first, we learn to read them. We are shaped by the culture we are born into, by the lessons handed down through family, by the myths that have guided humanity for centuries. We absorb these narratives and, without realizing it, they begin to form the lens through which we see the world. But as consciousness matures, something shifts. We realize that we are not only readers of this library, we are also authors contributing new words, new meanings, new chapters to the unfolding story of existence. Every thought we have, every choice we make, every action we take becomes part of the cosmic narrative. Just as a single line can change the direction of an entire book, a single act of awareness can transform the course of our life and ripple outward to touch the lives of others. To live unconsciously is to let the story be written for us, to remain a passive reader, but to awaken is to pick up the pen of consciousness and begin to write with intention, with clarity, with love. When we live as both reader and author, we enter into a relationship with the universe that is dynamic and creative. We are not simply interpreting reality, we are shaping it. The library is not static, it responds to the storyteller. When we choose forgiveness, we rewrite a story of pain into one of healing. When we choose kindness, we shift the narrative of separation into one of unity. The universe provides the canvas, but it is through our awareness that colors are chosen and forms emerge. Even the smallest gestures become part of this authorship. A smile given to a stranger, a moment of stillness in the midst of chaos, a word spoken from the heart rather than from fear, all of these are sentences in the great story. They may seem minor at the moment, but like seeds planted in fertile soil, they grow and multiply, adding richness to the narrative of existence. We are never insignificant in this process. Every life, no matter how humble, is a chapter without which the story would be incomplete. To live with this understanding is to approach life with reverence. We begin to recognize that each moment is an opportunity to read more deeply into the mystery of the universe and to write more consciously into its unfolding. The library of existence expands not only through stars being born and galaxies colliding, but through the awareness of each individual being who adds their story to the whole. And when we live as both readers and authors, we discover that the true story of the universe is not something happening to us. It is something happening through us.